So you've seen a build guide, it looks awesome, you want to play this build, and you go on the trade site, you start looking at the price of everything, and you go, oh no, everything is so expensive, what am I going to do? Look, if you are following build guides one-to-one exactly as you see them in the path of building, you are going to be paying a ridiculous amount of currency completely unnecessarily. So in today's video, I'm going to show you some tips on how you can follow build guides in a way that doesn't end up with you paying 4 or 5 times the amount of currency that you should for the exact same thing. And all build guide creators will say this, but people don't listen. Let's get into it. So I am playing Crouching Tuna's MF Fulcrum build, which is wonderful. Absolutely loving this build. But when I went to go price check some of the items in it, I was shocked at how expensive they were. So the first thing you need to do when following a build guide is pay attention to the guide, listen to the video, and then identify which parts of the build are most important. So things that are 100% critical to getting the build to function. So in this case, the fulcrum, this is non-negotiable. You don't not buy this. There's nothing you can do about it. If it costs 20 divines, you're gonna have to pay 20 divines. Same for this amulet. I bought a cheap one of these and then just divined it a couple of times, saved myself some currency like that. But yeah, first thing you need to do, listen to the video, say, okay, what do I have to get? No questions asked. Now that you've got that out the way, the next thing you need to do is figure out what are the problems the creator is trying to solve with the gearing they are suggesting. So let's have a look at the first example. In Tuna's build, we're gonna hop over to his POB, and this is one of the first things I noticed. So he is using this elegant hubris. This is a very clever solution to solving a lot of problems the build faces. So firstly, we're getting supreme ostentation. This removes attribute requirements. And then these two nodes over here with eyes wide open gives us chaos res. Excellent. That solves our chaos res problem. And over here, rural life. This solves our shock problem. So the problems Tuna is trying to solve here is chaos res and also shock avoidance as well as attribute requirements. So you see this jewel, you're like, cool, I want to get that jewel. You open up the trade site and oh no, there are two, and one that is online wants 100 divines for this. This is ridiculous. I'm not saying the person listing it for this price is ridiculous, but if you are considering buying this, because the 3 problems that this jewel solves in a very nice way, your chaos res, your attributes, and your shock avoidance, can be solved in other ways. So what are those other ways? So let's hop over to my build. What are some solutions for chaos resistance? Firstly, we have Amethyst Flask. Something I was using initially instead of a Ruby Flask was an Amethyst Flask. Ruby Flask on this build is super good because we're converting a lot of fizz and other elements to fire, and then this gives us less fire damage taken, so it's excellent. However, are you going to pay 100 divines for an elegant hubris or make some alternative solutions? So that's where I thought, why not just pop in an Amethyst Flask instead? See how it feels. It felt okay. However, I later thought I was using Abyskos, and I thought, why don't we get a whole lot of chaos res on a belt? So I bought a Stygian Vice. I bought 4 prismatic catalysts, scoured it, hit it, and then hit it just with a few essence of envy. I got this, and this pretty much single-handedly solved my chaos resistance. So we pop this guy on, and we're sitting at 50% chaos resistance. I think I also had some other jewels that helped top it off, but another amazing benefit of this is that we get a jewel socket. A modifier we can get on Abyss jewels is chance to avoid being shocked. So another problem that this elegant hubris was trying to solve was shock avoidance. So with that, we can get our shock immunity from jewels. We can also get it from another jewel over here. And if we're using the Stygian Vice, well, we can sort out the 2 problems that this previously solved. So we just saved ourselves probably in the realm of 95 divines by using this. Of course, we are losing out on our Abyskos. which means less quant, less rarity, less rampage. But if you're on a budget, this is a great alternative. So instead of getting the one suggested in the build guide, I got one like this. I think I paid 1 whole divine orb for this. I got Discerning Taste, I got Superiority, so I'm getting increased effects of my auras, more rarity, I'm getting Supreme Ostentation. But another thing you can do is, let's have a look. Again, looking at this, what we can do is see, is this Elegant Hubris hitting any other notables that are easily accessible? So something we don't have to path toward. We don't want to go for something like this because it's 5 points to get that. However, down here, we can get Life and we can get Shadowy Streets. So now when we search for an Elegant Hubris, it might come up with some other results that we can search for. So we can see, all right, here we are getting that and that and that. We can do a search on the trade site and see over here, you can see these ones are 10 divines. Just by changing that one node, you are paying 10 times less. There's a first example. Another thing, these gloves, right? Sedima's Touch. What we want on this is a +2 that increases our level 21 Purity of Fire into a level 23 Purity of Fire, so we get another +1 max fire res. In this case, the problem is we need a level 23 Purity of Fire. How do we get it? So in Tuna's build, he uses +2 level of socketed aura gems. However, if you look at Purity of Fire, it has multiple tags: aura, spell, AoE, fire. Let's have a look at the trade site. So we're looking at Sedima's Touch, level of socketed aura gems. This is what's in the build guide, and you can see it's about 4.96. Ignore this one, the Curse with Despair on hits like a semi-break, which is why it's 1 divine, but the other one's 6 divines, 6 divines, 6 divines, 7 divines. All right, so you go out, you pay 7 divines. However, you can get the exact same thing if you just go plus level of socketed AoE gems, and now you're paying 1.9 divines, 1.7 divines, 2 divines. Good job, you just saved 4.5 divines by buying something slightly different that does literally 100% exactly the same thing. This has the AoE tag, so I put it in my +2 AoE Sedima's, and we're getting the exact same effect. So another thing specific to this league is charms and these that which were taken jewels. These things, again, mods are suggested in the build guide, and those are enemies you or your totems kill have a chance to explode. So I believe in Tuna's build, he's using 3 of these with plus max fire res. Now, if we look at the trade site and we say, all right, that looks cool, I really want one of those. Let's see what these cost. Oh, 120 divines. I can't afford that. I can't afford 3 of those. What is an alternative? If you instead spread out the modifiers that you want on different charms, you can get essentially the same effect. So I believe this one cost me 1 divine. This is an explode. It doesn't have the max fire res. This one is an explode. Again, it doesn't have the max fire res. But instead of having a 3rd explode, so we are sacrificing 1% explode chance, we can get +2 max fire res on this one. I believe this one costs 10 divines. I think I paid a little bit less for this. I think with a slightly lower roll, you can get one for a bit cheaper. So let's say like 15%, 5 divines. And this is giving us max fire res. It's also giving us another mod we want, which is chance to gain an endurance charge when you are hit. And then I can get another explode over here. I believe in the build guide, it is suggested that you get explode over here, but here we are saving approximately, I mean, if we wanted to get 3 of those charms, it would cost us about 400 divines or 360 divines. I paid a total of 12 for these. And then I believe this one costs, oh wow, that's gone up to 20. I paid 10 for this. So again, another thing you could do is, let's say you want that which is taken with explode. Well, this is now 20 divines. What's an alternative? what you could do is you could instead get an explode over here and then pop it in there. So you'll have 3 explodes, and then you can get that which was taken with max fire res. Let's see what that costs. Max fire res. So 2 max fire res. This costs, about 3 divines. That's really nice. Now, if you also want to get one with endurance charge and hit, what does this cost? So 20 divines. All right, this is, yeah, when I did this, I essentially shuffled the mods around on my charms, and I think I paid 10 for my explodey Crimson Jewel and 7 or 8 for the other one. But again, you don't need to follow everything 100% exactly. Another thing is getting corrupted blood immunity on a jewel, something like this with some good mods like life, chance to avoid being shocked or something. You're going to pay a bit for this. This is 100 chaos. It's not that much. However, if you want to get one with more than just life and corrupted blood immunity, you're suddenly going to be paying a hell of a lot more. So what's another solution? Problem being posed, corrupted blood. What are some solutions? Well, obviously corrupted blood immunity implicit on jewels, or you could sacrifice 1 point on your tree. We could say, all right, we're going to sacrifice this life point and instead go over to this mastery and say, all right, corrupted blood cannot be inflicted on you. Now we can get a better jewel over here that we're probably not going to pay so much for. And then I believe the biggest, most important tip for pretty much any build guide you follow is cluster jewels. Often build creators will suggest cluster jewels, and they will always say you don't have to get these exact notables, but people will still go out and try to buy the exact cluster jewels with the exact same notables. Often these are somewhat interchangeable. Some of them are critical, like Fan the Flames. This is a non-negotiable type of notable. However, something like Student of Decay, if you can get that increased chaos res elsewhere, then you could swap this out for something else. How about this? We have this AoE medium cluster. This is granting us, let's see, increased area of effect and increased max life. And this one is increased area of effect if you've killed at least 5 enemies recently. What's an alternative? Well, we could go look at the cluster jewel. Let's just look at cluster and then check out medium and then look at area damage. So he is using Assert Dominance, and he is using the Towering Threat. Now, what are some alternatives to these? So 25% increased area of effect. Is there something similar? Let's see. No, not that. Magnify, that's only 10%. Powerful Assault, 20%. No, that's not good. Titanic Swings, 20% increased area damage and 15% increased area of effect. Here's another one. These, you can see why this one is preferable because it's granting the most increased area of effect. But let's say this exact jewel costs 12 divines or whatever it is. You could say, look, I'm going to sacrifice 5% area of effect and get something for a quarter of the price for just 5% area of effect loss. It's very much worth it. So yeah, when you're checking out a build and the clusters, just look at what these notables are actually doing and see if you can get an alternative elsewhere or a different notable with very, very similar mods. So overall, if we had followed the build guide 1-to-1, this actually relatively cheap MFing build, which cost, I believe I probably spent about 60-ish divines on it, maybe a bit less before I farmed up a mage blood. It would have cost in the realm of multiple mirrors just because so many people are looking for the exact item. So in summary, what you need to do when you pull up the build guide, number 1 is identify what are the most critical parts of the build, the things that you cannot change, you are going to have to pay for, there is no alternative. Then the next thing is to look at the problems in the build and the solutions that are being posed to fix them. So for example, like we went over with this, Tuna wanted to solve shock avoidance and chaos resistance with an elegant hubris. Where can we get shock avoidance and chaos resistance? You can search on PoE Wiki and see shock avoidance, and you'll maybe see, oh, we can get it on an abyss jewel, so we can solve it like that. Anyway, that is going to be it for this video. I hope you've all been well. I hope you've all had a good Christmas and have found many divines. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Stay safe. Catch you in the next video. Use your brain. Take care. Bye-bye.
Divine power! Divine power! It's branching, Exile. You're making me nervous.